Hi and welcome to this mini course where we'll build a simple voice assistant using a Raspberry Pi 4 and Python. My name is Michael Bina and in this short course I'll guide you step by step to create a basic assistant that can listen to your voice and respond. Just like a mini version of Alexa or Google Assistant. What do you need? Not much. Just a Raspberry Pi, a microphone, and a speaker or headphones. We'll be using Python and a few libraries like speech recognition and GTTS or STT for the text to speech. In this video I'm using Raspberry Pi OS, and for that we need an imager to boot the OS onto our SD card. I'll use the default Raspberry Pi imager program. Let's download and install the imager first. Open the imager program. I'm using the Raspberry Pi 4 64-bit version. Then choose the device you want to install the OS on. In my case, it's the SD card. Set a username for yourself, and I will recommend you to set a password as well because it will give us the possibility to connect us later remotely. After inserting the SD card into the Raspberry Pi and starting the operating system, the environment will look something like this. I'll now do some configurations on my Raspberry Pi OS to enable remote access from my laptop in future, because I don't want to use an extra monitor for my Raspberry Pi, and I will just connect to Raspberry Pi remotely via my laptop in future. There are many ways to do this. We'll try both the SSH method and VNC. Please make sure to turn on SSH, VNC, and the last one, Remote GPIO. Remote GPIO is used for controlling the Pi's input and output pins. If you want to connect electronic components later, this needs to be enabled. The last thing we need for our VNC or SSH connection is the local IP address. I'm already connected to Wi-Fi, and if I hover over the Wi-Fi icon, the IP address will appear, and my local network IP address is 10.0.0.152. If you want to use the VNC method, you need the VNC program. The good thing is you can use VNC on many devices, ever on your smartphone. You can download VNC program from this website. I have already installed VNC Viewer and just opened the program. Now I'll simply enter the local IP address of my Raspberry Pi, then it will ask for the username and password, and that's it. It's that easy to connect the Raspberry Pi using VNC Viewer. Let's try the second method as well, the SSH connection. For this, I'll use PuTTY just like before. I'll enter the IP address. It will ask me for the username and then the password, and that's it. I'm logged in. If I type here ls, it will show me a list of my files and folders. We are now ready to start the project. Here you can see my GitHub account. I have prepared some cheat sheets to save time and keep the video as short as possible. In the README file, you will see some requirements and instructions. Don't worry, I'll explain everything to you step by step. First of all, we need LM Studio. I'll install LM Studio on my Windows laptop later and show you what it is. The two other requirements, the Raspberry Pi and a reverse proxy service, are only needed if you want to follow along exactly as I do. If you want to do the whole project on a single device, like a laptop, then you don't need Raspberry Pi and also a reverse proxy config. I'm using a reverse proxy service to forward the LM Studio port so my Raspberry Pi can communicate with LM Studio running on my Windows laptop. But if everything is running on the same device, you don't need that. Let's start with the first point. You can download LM Studio from this website. I have already installed LM Studio on my laptop, so I'll just open it to show you what it looks like and what we need to configure. Once you have downloaded the program and opened it, it will ask you for some initial configurations, which you can skip. It might recommend downloading the Gamma model, but that's a very large package and requires a more powerful GPU or CPU and so on. We'll be using some smaller, simpler models instead. You can just skip this step for now. We'll configure everything together later. After that, you should see something similar to what I have here. Just click on Developer and you will see more menus appears here for you. If you click on Discover menu, you will see a new window where you can search for models to download and use. You can choose from OpenAI models, Gamma from Google and so on. However, I'll recommend you using Mistral. It's a smaller package that I have tested and it's more than enough for our project. As you can see here, there are many versions of Mistral available. I think I have the Mistral V2, but you can choose either one of them and just download it. Once you have downloaded a model, you can say use a new chat and it will be automatically selected the downloaded model for you. Or you can close this window. In this drop down, you'll see a list of all models you've downloaded and you can select the one you want to use. As you can see, I have also downloaded Gamma, but it was a bit too much. As you can see, it's about 8 GB while Mistral V2 is only around 3 GB. Once you have selected your model, you can briefly test if it works. You can just ask a question here or select an option. And as we can see, mine works well. Okay, but in our project, we will not use this chat system here directly. We need an API to communicate with the AI model and ask it our questions. Therefore, we need to go to the developer menu and start the API here if it's not already running. Here you will see the local link and port of your API. This means if we use this link in our requests and ask a question, we will get an answer as a response. So far we are done with configuration of LM Studio. Next, you need a Raspberry Pi. You can use any Pi you want. Pi 3, 4 or 5. I'm using the Pi 4. I want to mention again, if you want to follow everything as I do step by step, then you need a Raspberry Pi. Otherwise, you can just use your laptop or PC for the whole project. The Raspberry Pi installation and configuration we already did at the beginning of our video, so we can skip this part. The next step is to set up a reverse proxy to our local host. We need the reverse proxy configuration because, as we saw, the API link of our LM Studio includes port 1234. Since we are using two different devices in our project, I'll send a request from the Raspberry Pi to my laptop where LM Studio is installed to ask a question and get a response back. The first requirement is that both devices must be on the same network. As a shared network, you can simply use your home Wi-Fi. It's enough if both devices are connected to the same Wi-Fi. Devices inside a network usually communicate via local IP addresses, but not directly using specific ports. However, we want to communicate through port 1234. Therefore, we set up a reverse proxy configuration on the device where LM Studio is installed. This configuration will forward any incoming requests to the default ports like 80 directly to 1234. I'm using XAMPP here and will show you the XAMPP configuration. If you're using other services like Nginx or something else, you should look up your specific configuration. Okay, let's start. First of all, you need to find where your XAMPP is installed. In my case, it's installed in C directory. When you open it, go to the Apache folder, then to the conf folder. Inside the conf folder, you will find a file called http.conf. As you can see here, I have written down the full path for you. Once you have opened the httpd.conf file, you should search for these two lines of code inside the file and make sure they are not commented out. If they are commented out, you need to uncomment them by removing the hashtag in front of each line. Let's start with the first one. And then the second one. As you can see, it's uncommented for me already, and there is no hashtag in front of the line. If there is a hashtag in front of the line, you should remove that. Okay, let's save the file, and you're done with the httpd.conf file. Now let's move on the second file. It's located inside the extra folder and is called httpd-vhosts.conf. Open it, comment out everything, and then paste this block of code into the file. If you have other configurations or wanna restore the default configuration later, simply comment out the new block of code and uncomment the previous lines. You can do that anytime. What these lines of code do is forwarding port 80, which is the default HTTP port, to port 1234. This means that if you send an HTTP request, it will automatically be forwarded to port 1234, which is our local API. Because when we send a request from the Pi device to our LM Studio API, we can only send the request to the IP address of our device, which is our laptop, but we can't specify port 1234 directly. This part will be handled by the reverse proxy here. Once we are done with the reverse proxy configuration, we will open VNC Viewer and connect us to the Pi. Then we can start working on our project. Alright, to kick off our voice assistant project, we are going to use Python. I'll walk you through everything step by step.